Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Open Line. This is our special segment that we do normally the fourth Thursday of every month, but we moved it up because of Thanksgiving. This is Ask a Lawyer, where you, the viewer, get to call in and ask our lawyers questions. Tonight we have Mr. Kevin Kennedy here with us, and the phone number's at the bottom of the screen, 737-plus, 737-7587. And when the phone lines are lit up,
they're
so
lit up tonight.
Kevin.
Go ahead, Nick.
All right, line 6 is Rhonda. Are you there, Rhonda?
I am, and I'm glad to have two attorneys, and maybe you'll have the same answer and maybe not. Actually, I've got two different issues here. The first is I hired an attorney to basically negotiate with another attorney, and I sent him a check on October 22nd, and he indicated that, I said I'd like to keep costs down, and where possible, if we get the paralegals to do the work and everything, and they said that's fine. We do most of our work by email. I have not heard from them since, and when I'm dealing with attorneys who charge by the half second, I get a little bit anxious. So I do, obviously I have to contact them and say, what's going on here, but it may be that the delays are on the other side. So just generally speaking, what is the amount of time that you think is reasonable for me to wait for them to get back to me? The second question is, I was at one of these luncheons that an attorney who is involved in establishing trusts and dealing with issues like that. There was this luncheon the other day, and he was presenting everybody that was there with an offer that if they signed that day, they would get a discount on his services, and that seemed a little fishy to me. I'm checking into his background and what he's part of like a firm that's kind of not. I guess they have headquarters all over the country, and he's not been with them very long, and so I'm looking into all of that. But I wonder if either of you could give me a ballpark figure on what it would cost to establish a trust. I realize that varies by the complication, how complicated your situation is, but just a low end and a high end figure possibly,
okay.
And also your reaction to that kind of tactic. I was told that if I decided to work, and by the way, he has like a money back guarantee, which also sounds a little bit fishy. I mean, just to express it that way. And so, but he did say that if I elect to work with him, he will go ahead and honor this so-called discount price.
Okay, I'll address the first thing. If you try to contact a lawyer, the squeaky door gets the oil. If you sent that in there, I would be trying to contact him and say, hey, what is the deal? If I couldn't get him to respond, I would find out, and I would go see that lawyer, because a good understanding keeps down a misunderstanding. I'm always very reluctant to let anybody go to a luncheon where they're selling living trust or living things, and especially if we have a nationwide headquartered out of there, I want to move very slowly with that. I don't mind hearing what everybody has to say, but if it was my family member, I would not entertain that. I would go to a local lawyer, somebody that has got a established name, established office, that I know is licensed in Tennessee, and someone that is not just selling me a bill of goods that you print off the internet, you fill this out, and they're gone. If you hadn't been with the organization very long, if they're in Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, I really wouldn't recommend that. I'm not seeing anything that may be a legitimate organization, but if it was my family members, I'm going to take my chance with the local people in here. And it doesn't hurt a thing. Call the lawyers, go see them. Most of them have free initial consultations, and then you can get a feel of whether you think, okay, this is something I want to entertain.
Well, I agree with Kevin 100% about that. I mean, I've seen a lot of Kevin's commercials, and one thing that has stood out to me about Kevin's advertising is he wants to make sure that you're comfortable with him and his firm. And so there's a lot of lawyers out there. Do your homework, do your research. You can get on the internet.
Yes.
There's a lot of websites that have feedback as to whether or not this is going to be a good fit for you or
Yes.
not a good fit. And if you've paid a lawyer and you haven't heard back, then as Kevin said, I think you should pay him a visit because we have rules that we have to operate under just like anybody else. And so we definitely, one of the big things lawyers get in trouble for is not returning phone calls. And as it pertains to the trust, and you could do something so simple as put a little trust in a basic will, like a spendthrift trust, and you might be able to get something like that done for a few $100, all the way up to, I've been involved in trusts before that the fees with all the professionals get into 6 figures because you've got an accountant, a tax lawyer, 2 other lawyers. So those trusts run the gamut, and
I agree.
And it really does depend upon what you need that trust for. Are you trying to get out of death taxes, generation transfer skipping taxes, estate taxes, or are you just trying to have something set up because your kids are young, and in case you were to pass away, that they didn't get the money. So there's all kinds of different things there. But that's a great question, Rhonda.
It was good. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am. All right, on line 7 we have James. Are you with us, James?
Yes, sir.
Okay, James, go ahead.
Okay. I'm an administrator for an estate. The old administrator was doing some not really legal things, and we had him removed. And it went to the point until I found out that he had forged his name on the car title of the deceased, that he dropped all his claims and everything against the estate. But the lawyer, they hired this attorney, and he has jacked the price up unbelievable for a house with 5 claims against it, less than $100,000 total property, and the bill is like $8,700. I was wondering what recourse I would have to maybe take this bill somewhere.
Well, one of the things that I like to tell people, when you enter into a contract, you really need to have a good understanding. If you said, okay, I'm going to pay you $1,000 down, carry it up to that point. Don't go over $1,000 without us having another meeting. If I were to say, okay, I'm going to authorize $5,000 down, you say, okay, then here's what we got to deal with, and then let me have a good understanding at this point. And keeping a pulse on that bill, I don't want to really give anybody open-end check and say, okay, run with it, and then here we get a gigantic bill. Again, a good understanding keeps down a misunderstanding. Reputable people, let's lay out what our expectations are on how much do you think we're going to spend. But one of the things I've learned over the years, Nick, does a lawyer make a difference? Absolutely. And Nick's really bright and brilliant, but if he were in trouble tonight, he could represent himself. I'll tell you, Nick.
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it. And I've been around, got lots of lawyers there, lots of experience. I'm not going to represent myself. So if that's what I would say for my children, and my oldest boy is a pediatric dentist, and the second one will be a doctor in May, I'd say, guys, whether Daddy was here or not, you get a lawyer. That's
right.
what I tell the viewing audience.
And I can't echo enough what you said about the billing. I think that's so important to, if there are money constraints, you need to let that lawyer know.
Right. Say,
here's $2,000. If we go over that, please call me. And I think a good lawyer a lot of times will send you a bill at least every other month to keep you apprised of what's been going on. But like you say, you've said numerous times, a good understanding
keeps down a misunderstanding.
That's right. It's a good question. All right, let's see here. Line 1 is Ann. Are you there, Ann?
Hello.
Yes,
Hey,
Ann, go ahead.
Good
Nice
evening.
to talk to you.
Hi, I'm Ann, and I'm calling. Thank you so much for giving the information that you do. What I'm calling to ask about is, I'm a widow. My husband just recently died, and I'm on disability. Is there a possibility that his bills that I would be responsible for?
Okay.
How would that affect, and anything that, can they come against me to pay his bills off?
Okay, first off, we'd like to determine what was his bills and what were your bills. Obviously, if you had a car and it was in both names and you signed the note and the payments are $400 a month, and if he passed away, they're still going to look to you to make those payments on that. On the converse, if he had a lot of medical bills and those medical bills were attached to him when he died, if he did not have funds in that estate, they're not going to come after you for that. Now, we've got some gray areas in the law that says a spouse may have to be responsible for the necessary expenses. There's some gray areas. Again, if I were in your situation, I'd talk to a lawyer, I'd explain what my facts are, and get their opinion. If I didn't like how that lawyer was responding, I'd get a second opinion. And remember this, knowledge is power. And right now, if you've got family members, take some notes on what we share tonight so you can use them later. Also, if you've got family members that's confronted, tell them, call in, watch the show, learn. Thank you so much for that question.
You know, one of the things I've seen in my practice lately is I've gotten more and more phone calls from folks that have been married a long time. Someone's sick.
Yes.
And they're accumulating an inordinate amount of medical bills.
Can happen to any of us at any time.
And so they say to me, well, what if we got a divorce? We're not going to, you know, we don't want to live apart or anything
Yes.
like that, but, you know, we don't want all of our assets to be taken away.
Yes.
So I'm getting more and more interest in that, it
Yes.
seems like nowadays.
A lot of this viewing audience has got the same question on their mind.
All right, line 2 is Regina. Are you there, Regina?
Yes, I'm here.
What's your question for Kevin?
Oh, I actually sued a mechanic who has his own shop in small claims court, and I won. He didn't show up. I won by default.
Yes.
But he had a representative that showed up, a guy who spoke Spanish, who said he didn't speak any English. But anyway, the judge did. I won. How do I collect? Because as I understand, the court does not send them anything to say that I've won. But how do I collect?
Well, there's a numerous ways attempt, and of course, you can always contact a lawyer to try to collect that for you, and a lot of times they may charge a third to try to do that. Also, there's collection agencies that are legitimate, and you say, I've already got a judgment against this man for $5,000, or you have a right, if they are working and employed at a company, you can go down and file a garnishment on their wages. And there's executions. There's a host of different things, and you may even talk to the clerk of the court. But many times, you know, what people don't understand, they say, well, I'm going to sue them, and I'm going to get my money. You're going to sue them. You're going to get a judgment, and if they go file bankruptcy, you get a green card, and it's discharged. So it's not hard to get and prove that you're right. It is hard many times to collect.
No, I mean, I remember I was a young lawyer when I first started practicing law, and I got a judgment for 6 figures. And I remember coming back to the office thinking, golly, you know,
Hello, come in.
I'm rich now. Well, you know what? I still have that piece of paper, and I've never gotten a dime out of it
Yes.
because of that bankruptcy. So it
Yes.
happens. All right, folks, the phone lines, we've got a few people holding. We'll get back to your phone calls as soon as we come back from the break. If you have a question, please call the numbers at the bottom of the screen, 737-plus, 737-7587. We're taking your phone calls here with Kevin Kennedy. Be back in just a moment.